yet to unravel. There are, for instance, various international organizations of which the UK is a member, which can also lay claim to some authority in certain areas of life. The UN, NATO, the International Court of Justice, and so on, a whole host of organizations which can exercise some degree of authority. And there was the European Union, which, when we still belonged to it, made laws in our name. And then there are referendums, those occasional plebiscites that test the public will on matters of importance. And so our visitor would come to see that though preeminent, Parliament's authority is not absolute. And at this point, it would have to be explained that the account given so far only covers the formal structures of power. To understand why that power is exercised in the way it is, we would have to introduce our alien visitor to another concept, which we might term moral authority. That is to say, the authority which flows from our understanding of fundamental truth. A grasp of this particular concept is necessary to comprehend why the politicians who we elect do what they do, and to understand the mechanisms by which the legislature is guided, so that it is in accord with the popular will. So, for instance, we hold it to be a fundamental truth that no individual can be executed by the state because we've decided that it's always wrong for the state to kill its own citizens. But from where does such a belief come? Not from the popular will, which has always been in favor of the death penalty, although support for the death penalty has been slowly declining and dipped below 50% for the first time in 2015, according to recent figures. And if you discount the undecided, those wanting its reintroduction outnumber opponents by 45% to 39%. So answering this question introduces a level of complexity quite above and beyond anything which our back-of-the-envelope introductory course on the British Constitution has so far attempted. From where does this moral authority derive? Our alien quite understandably wants to know where to start, perhaps with Christianity and the national church, the Church of England, and some elementary theology. At this point, our alien would have to be introduced to the notion of an omniscient creator, who we call God, an entity beyond human understanding, who brought our planet and indeed the whole universe, including our alien, into being through an act of inscrutable will at the beginning of the dimension we call time. One can foresee some potential problems here, but let us battle on regardless. We aren't inviting a debating contest with this stranger, merely telling it how it is according to orthodox Christian teaching. God has handed down to us fundamental truths, which, should we listen to our consciences, will guide our actions. But then we would have to heavily qualify this belief by explaining that the Church of England, though nominally the national church, has only a relatively small and dwindling number of members, and that in fact, in the UK there are many other religions, some of which have significantly more committed adherents than the C of E. Our alien might at this point be forgiven for some confusion. After all, surely the national church, of which the monarch is the supreme governor, has some right to assert primacy in this area. The point could be argued, but not conclusively. There is no clear answer, and anyway, we would be obliged to point out that according to polling evidence, many citizens reject this traditional idea of a creator God, along with the right of any of the many and various churches to lay claim to any moral authority whatsoever. Many Britons see themselves as secularists, actively opposed to religion of all stripes, and if one had to pigeonhole their philosophy, humanism might be as good a label as any. So what moral authority do these citizens, the atheists, acknowledge? Well, that is a devilishly tricky question to answer. We'd have to admit that many citizens have but little faith in the moral authority of politicians, but that, by way of counterbalance, there is widespread support for the notion of the rule of law. While many citizens are critical of the law as it stands and believe it should be improved in ways that accord with their own preferences, so that there's a constant debate about what the law should be, the United Kingdom is a country where there is a consensus that the law binds us all. Leaving aside criminals, who obviously reject the law, here perhaps we have arrived on solid ground. It is in the law itself that true authority resides, and the fact that our laws derive from a democratic process